Welcome to another episode of Discover St. Cloud, Florida. I'm Kristen McCary, and I'm here with your host,
Janine Corcoran, broker for Corcoran Connect, a real estate company.
And it's that time of the month. What time
Again,
is it?
Market report for September.
Yeah. So tell me what happened in the different zip codes in September.
So we always like to start with 34769, and please be aware that this is only single family homes. So we had 31 homes that sold in September. 30 of them were single stories and only one two-story. The price per square foot, because everybody loves that price per square foot for the single stories, is $217.71. And then I'm just going to round it up. For the two-story, it was at $155.
Yeah. And it's funny, we just had Robert Bass on talking about price per square foot and why it's different between one and two story homes. So if you didn't get to check that out, check it out right now.
So, Robert, when we do our market report, when we do per zip code in St. Cloud, we always like to split one stories from two stories. And we notice a pattern every month that one stories always have a higher price per square foot versus a two-story. And it's a big difference. It's usually like $30 or more. Why is that?
Well, it's, I talk to people who have two-story versus one-story, and it seems as though the market prefers the one-story. And people, they don't want to have to climb stairs.
It covers a lot more people too.
A lot more,
absolutely. The elderly,
And historically, the cost of a single story is going to be greater than the cost of a two-story. Maybe a couple analogies. If you take a square, for example, a 10 by 10 square, a 10 by 10 square equals 100 square feet. You take a rectangle that's 20 feet by 5 feet, that also is 100 square feet. So you have two shapes that are exactly the same square footage. One's square, one's a rectangle. That square is 10 by 10 by 10, is 10 by 10 by 10, which is 40 linear feet. But that rectangle at 20 by 5 is 50 linear feet. So that's why you see a single story ranch home is going to cost more than that two-story home. Using my phone as an example, as a rectangle. So I say this is a ranch home, 2,000 square feet. It's got 2,000 square feet of roof. And we all know roofs are expensive. So let's build a two-story of equal size, cut it in half. Now you have 1,000 square foot downstairs and then 1,000 square foot on top. Now you have 1,000 square foot roof instead of a 2,000 square foot roof.
Which is a heck of a lot cheaper to put a roof on that.
And then when you're running your bathrooms, you can, with a two-story, you put your bathroom downstairs, and where's the upstairs bathroom going to be?
Right above it.
Directly above it. So the cost to run that additional plumbing is going to be much less than in a ranch style home.
Because you have one over here and one over there.
On the other side of the home, yeah.
That's a great answer. Thank you for that.
Man, that was great information. I
love the way he uses visual. I'm a visual person, so
right.
I just, that made sense, taking the, splitting in half, putting the roof on top makes perfect sense.
Right, absolutely. Which is why your roof is probably more expensive than my roof, because you have a one story and I have a two story.
We paid $23,000 to put a new roof on, and I got 3 quotes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and I was like, how is it like everyone's paying 17 or, you know what I mean? I'm like, but my roof, it's single story, and it covers a lot and it has a big pitch too.
Yeah. So that makes a difference. Good to know. So month over month, your price per square foot is down about 6.6% in 34769. It's still up 13.9% from last year, though.
Oh, okay. So
we're still up over last year's numbers, a little bit down from last month. But overall, things are starting to change. We did notice we talked about this last month about trying to, track the days on market.
Yes.
And track the days to contract and the days to close and stuff like that. And so those numbers are climbing, which is kind of what we're seeing.
Yep.
I think, we talked about it before where, we talked about how sometimes sellers are a little bit slower to react to the actual market, right? Like it takes a minute, to catch up. And so
3 months behind.
Yeah, exactly. It feels like
the market has changed? Yeah, that was
a couple months ago. And so currently the average days to contract are 34, and average days to close are 76. So in comparison to August, it was the average days to contract was 13. So
Oh,
it's like
wow,
almost, it's
yeah.
more than double.
Yeah, more than double. That's so.
You know, but again, I think that a lot of that has to do
And this
with
is for 34769.
right. This is for 34769, and your current inventory is still a 1.4 month supply, which is the same as last month. So
Oh,
even though the
interesting.
sales numbers were a little bit lower, so are the active homes on the market. So you know, we're right in about a 1.4 month supply there.
Makes a lot of sense. And now to the fascinating zip code of 34771.
That is.
That usually has the most sales. So for the month of September, we had 64 sales. Of that, 39 were single stories and 25 were two stories. The price per square foot, again, I'll round it down or up. Price per square foot on the single stories was $235, and then two stories was $196. So do you have a month over month?
Yeah. So month over month for these, your average price per square foot, like total, combining everything, was $219.84, and it's down 1.3% from last month. So not a huge change, very minimal, but it's still up 17.8% over last year.
year.
Yeah, year over year. Similar story with average days to contract. Average days to contract were about 32 days. So if you look at both zip codes, they're actually in the 30s now, you know, sitting on for about a month before it goes under contract. And then the average days to close is 65.
And I think that's going to get longer because we're in that time of year where just houses sit on the market longer because of the holidays. And people
Right.
don't like to move during this time.
No, not at all. So, so that's going to change anyway. But so it is up. You know, average days to contract, average days to close is about the same, and I think that's more because there's some new construction homes that kind of influence that. Obviously, you can't close on something that's not finished. So,
Makes sense.
but the current inventory is actually a 4.2 month supply in
Wow.
34771. Wow. So that's interesting to see that,
getting
like,
more normal.
Yeah.
I mean, it is more normal, but
they also have an incredible amount of new construction that's influencing that number too. So you got to imagine that's a big zip code where there's a lot of new construction going on. So those numbers are going to be, I feel like they're going to have more supply than some of the other zip codes that we
Right,
see.
right.
Like there's not really much to build in 34769, like,
no,
so that's not going to, I don't think it's going to quite pick up there.
Interesting.
So what do you got for 34772?
34772, 40 homes, single family homes sold. And we have single stories at 28 that sold at $212 a square foot. And then the two stories, 12 of them sold at $187 a square foot.
Awesome. And so your average price per square foot, again, this is an average of both the 1 and 2 story homes. It's $204.57 a square foot. And then that's down 9.5% from last month. But it's still up 8.3% over the previous year.
Oh, wow.
So bigger adjustments, it seems like, in 34772. Again, there's still a lot of construction out there as well. So I think that'll influence the numbers. Again, the average days to contract is 33, and average days to close is 64. So again, you're seeing the same sort of thing in terms of like longer days on market, but things are still closing. And the average month supply of inventory is about 2.4 months.
Okay.
So, and it's that's the exact same as last month. So.
It's interesting looking at all the different zip codes.
Right, right. Yeah. It's to see like how much, how things are affected in each zip code. So that's 34772 for you.
And then we have 34773, which will just do the overall, but then we'll break it down for all our Harmony folks out there because we have a unique community that has different types of properties. So in 34773, we had 18 single family homes. Of that, 1 stories, 10 of them sold, 242.85, and then 2 stories, 8 of them sold at 177.57. And then you have the month over month.
Yep. So your average price per square foot total is $213.83, and it's down 2.1% month over month, but it's still up 29.7% over last year.
That's
a
big.
It's a big difference.
Still a lot of equity in there.
Absolutely. And the average days to contract, again, just similar to the other zip codes, 25 days to contract, 60 days to close. So that's all about the same, and a 1.3 month supply of inventory.
Wow.
So there's not really a ton of inventory still in the 34773 zip code. So
No, I mean, there's still more building to come, and there's still some new builds, but not as much as the like 34771 just busted at the seams. So.
Exactly. So, and so do you want to break down Harmony for our Harmony folks here?
I do. So, and do you have the totals on that one? Because I don't. Is it total 10?
It looks like there are total 9, 10.
10. Okay.
Yep.
Got it then. I want to make sure I was looking at the right thing.
Yep.
Notice I'm using my cell phone today with my little Pokemon sticker on it. Thank you, KJ. Anyhow, okay, so there were 10 sales. This is just in the community of Harmony. 10, not Harmony West, 10 sales, and we had 2 single stories, and the rest were 8 stories, so there were 8. And the single stories were at $221 a square foot, and the 2 stories were at $180 a square foot. Mm-hmm. So we have in Ashley Park, the price per square foot for those in condos and townhouses, $174.16. The resales were at $204.90. The enclaves where you live were $193.25, and the lakes was at $237.45.
Mm-hmm. And so, again, this is an average, which I don't really feel like is totally accurate, especially when you're talking about Harmony, because, you know, you have custom homes in there, you have resales, you have townhouses, and you have new construction. So, like, you've got literally a mixed bag of everything. But, you know, our averages, if you take it out, it's $185.75 a square foot, which is holding about the same as last month. It's actually a 0.8% growth. And then year over year, we're up 12.4%. So, but again, that's not really a great barometer for Harmony in particular, because there's so many different types of homes that go into that number,
right,
that it's harder to, you know, kind of break it out like that. But we're staying pretty, you know, pretty much status quo. So,
and then our neighbors, Harmony West, we had 12 sales, and usually they have a lot more than we have, but they had 12 sales. 8 of them were single stories, 4 were 2 stories. Their single stories were at $238, and their 2 stories was at $178.83.
yeah, holding about the same. So, you know, that's kind of your market in a snapshot right now. I mean, what are you seeing in terms of, you know, difference in the market in general? I mean, not even 6 months ago, you'd put a house on the market and you had 40 offers in one weekend. And, you know, so what are you seeing now with some of your listings? And what's a good strategy for somebody who may be considering putting their home on the market?
Well, I just think setting expectations up front, first of all, educating the sellers, letting them know that what kind of market we're in. We have a couple of things going against us. Interest rates keep rising. And then, of course, the time of the year, not as many buyers.
Right.
So they really have to be realistic with their price. It's not to say that there aren't buyers out there. There's just less of them.
Right.
You know, so.
And add a third thing on top of that, like the hurricane.
Oh, right, the hurricane. and that didn't help, the flooding.
And the flooding that's
didn't help at
still
all.
going on in St. Cloud right now.
Yes.
So that's, you know, I literally listed a house for sale.
Beautiful house.
Gorgeous. Oh my, I actually almost bought it last year, but I couldn't leave Harmony. I just couldn't do it. I had to be near my family, but I just an absolutely gorgeous house. I know. Well, this wouldn't have been as easy. You wouldn't be able to just pop on over and do a podcast, you know? And so, and we just listed a house and it's just, you know, it's such a different time.
Yeah, it's a different time.
It's a different time, but it's absolutely gorgeous. If you guys are in the market for a 4-bedroom pool home in a gated community of Lake Point, I have one available for you.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's definitely, you know, a different market, I feel like. So, you know, something you gotta kind of be on top of and market and,
absolutely.
price
And
correctly.
it's just really for any real estate agents that are listening, you know, to set expectations up front to your sellers. This way they're not disappointed. You're not going crazy.
Right,
Because it's
absolutely.
hard, you know, if you go in saying, yeah, don't worry, oh, it's going to be great. And, you know, and this, and then you put it on and nothing happens.
Right.
You know, it's like,
Right.
you have to set your expectations up front.
Absolutely. So that's your market kind of in a snapshot. And again, we're getting ready to head into, you know, these are September numbers. So it's the end of summer, school just started type thing. And now we're getting ready to head into, you know, we're in October now. So I'll be curious to see what kind of trends develop overall. But those interest rates, I think, really did do a number on
They did.
affordability in terms of, you know, people being able to purchase a home that they can afford and one that they actually like. So, you know, I think there's going to be some settling still. Have you heard anything on rates in terms of like what to expect going forward through the rest of the year?
Yeah, they're saying they're going up again. They'll be up to 7. I'm having a lot of buyers look at the adjustable rate, the ARM, and I think over the course of the bad, you know, market that went down 50%, people are afraid of that word ARM, adjustable rate mortgage. But I don't think what they realize is that it's fixed during. So if they say a 5-year or 7-year, it's
Right.
fixed during that time, you know. And most
Right.
people don't even stay in their house
That long.
past 5 years. So, compare those rates, because that may be another option. And then if during that time the rates go down or match, or then you can just refinance, or by 5 or 7 years, you'll be selling anyway. So
Right.
something to look at.
Absolutely. And that's a great consideration, is doing something like that in order for affordability. Are you seeing anything in terms of, buyers requesting sellers buy down rates or anything like that? Have you come across any contracts like that?
I haven't had anyone ask to buy down the rate. I know with some of the new builds, the builders are offering that. On regular resales, I haven't seen anyone ask for buying down the rate. Definitely seeing closing costs coming back. So
Right.
the buyers may be taking their money that they were using for closing costs and then buying down the rate. So that's an option too.
Right.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
there's still options out there. I mean, I know everyone wants the 3% rate, but real estate, time moves on. Houses still sell. People still have to move.
Right. You still got to move. You still got to go places.
Yeah, so it doesn't just stop.
Right.
If it did, the whole economy would be in trouble.
Right, exactly. And it's still, again, historically, if you look at historic mortgage rates, like 7% is not
Do you remember
crazy.
what your rate was? When?
I'm pretty sure I was like 6.5, 6.75, my first house that I ever bought.
Yeah.
I don't even remember, but it was, it wasn't cheap. It wasn't a 4% or 3% or 2%. I think it's just because we just came out of that people feel the difference, So it'll be interesting to see how the market reacts moving forward and all that kind of good stuff. But like you said, people still need to move, still need to sell houses, still need to buy houses. And if you're in the position to do that, then now's a great time to do it. So
And for all you folks that are listening out of state, please don't let these hurricanes scare you. They very rarely come in, and the flooding issue is a whole nother issue, and that's happening in certain parts of St. Cloud.
Right.
I went down Rummel Road. So I went. What did it say? Wednesday. I went down Monday. It was pretty flooded. Tuesday they had the signs out, road closed, flooded, but I had already gone through it, so
Right.
I went through it, and it was already receded.
Right.
But
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I feel like when we look at the flood maps, and part of the things for people who aren't in the area, which is, again, this is like unprecedented in terms of like, this is not like houses necessarily that are in flood zones. There was so much rain with Hurricane Ian that like all of the lakes in Florida are basically connected through
Right.
some way or
Through some
another.
way.
So in order to get the water out of the state, you have to drain it through all the lakes. So the lakes up north of us are draining into the lakes, into our lakes, and our lakes are draining into lower lakes. And so we're all trying to get it out to Lake Okeechobee to hopefully put it back out in the ocean. But right now it's just, that process of the lakes are really full. There's really no,
And then one of the locks was broken.
Right.
Right. That was a
Yeah.
big issue. They couldn't get it released. So
Right.
when the water was coming in, that was creating all lakes too.
right. Hold up the
higher.
water. Yeah, exactly. So it's
Just
just,
chain reaction.
it's just,
Normal process to drain the lakes during something like that. That is the normal process.
Right.
But again, if you have a holdup, it's
Right.
like a domino effect.
it really is. And honestly, I remember years ago, I worked for Bella Lago on Pleasant Hill Road in Kissimmee, and they used to draw down Lake Toho every couple of years. They would intentionally lower the lake level, partly to clean out, some of the, vegetation growth that had grown in there, but also to kind of maintain the water level. So it's just one of those things. But again, that was like completely unprecedented. Now's a great time to go out and look at lots. see how nice and dry and drained certain areas are.
And every state has something.
They do.
Tornadoes,
Right.
earthquakes, I don't know. Where you
For
go in
me,
the middle of the state where there's nothing happening.
I
don't know.
kind of like hurricanes, not going to lie. You see them coming from 25 days out, it's like being stalked by a turtle. Like
10 miles an hour.
it's so much
It
time.
was so slow.
You have so much time to react and prepare. I'd take that over an earthquake or a tornado or a wildfire or anything.
That's true. I
any
never
day.
thought about
Like,
that natural disaster that you can prepare for.
Right.
Everything else just comes.
Right. I would 1,000% rather have a hurricane than the rest of the stuff.
Right.
Like you can't, there's not a lot of warning with those things, but
No.
hurricanes you see coming. I remember it was weeks we knew about this one coming potentially. So anyway, but that's it. So that's your market right now. So I'm curious to see what happens, what the effects the hurricane have, what the time of year has, the interest rates. Like it's going to be crazy to see October's numbers. I'm excited. Are you excited?
I am. I'm excited.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us this week for another episode of Discover St. Cloud, Florida. Don't forget that you can find us on all of your favorite podcast platforms. You can also find us on
YouTube, and also feel free to send us an email at Discover St. Cloud, and that's STCLOUD. And also you can call us at 1-844 St. Cloud.
Awesome. Thanks so much for joining. We'll see you in the next episode.